Today on the 2 month review, we're going to be talking about the very end of Thomas Pynchon's Vineland with an actual Thomas Pynchon scholar. Peter Coviello is here to talk with us, but we're going to go over the last part of that, talk about his book Vineland Reread, talk about the movie One Battle After Another, and have a good time. Okay, I'm Chad Post from Open Letter Books, joined as always by Brian Wood, author of Joytime Killbox. What are you up to today, Brian?
Oh, not much. Just nursing a hangover with a little more juice that was left over. So,
With some gin, I hope. Gin and juice.
no.
No,
Uh,
just juice? Come on,
no,
man.
it was like a bourbon that they put into tequila barrels or something. So it's just a bad idea, is what it is.
Also joining us is Kaija Straumanis, senior editor at Open Letter Books for 13 more days. How are you doing today, Kaija? What are you up to?
I am enjoying the not bittersweet, but the end of an era-ness of all of it. But I'm doing well.
Are you
Doing well,
talking
Chad.
about
How are you?
the American democracy or this book or what end of what era?
I mean, every Monday is a new era, so I don't even know.
Gotcha.
It's hard to keep up.
And our special guest, Peter Coviello, who is the chair, department head, and the professor of English at the University of Illinois Chicago. Peter, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
All that is the case. I'm very delighted to be here to talk with you all. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate
And
it.
and anxiously awaiting the results of the Cubs game, I assume.
No, dude, I'm not a Cubs fan. Because I live in Chicago, which is to say I'm a White Sox fan
Oh,
because come on,
that's a
man.
choice.
Because they're very bad at baseball, but the Wrigley Field is like it's like Disneyland frat party. You don't want to go
I
there.
do
That's
have
not
to
a
say
The
though,
worst.
was it the late 70s or early 80s when they had the lesbian softball team uniform? The White Sox
Yes.
had the greatest uniform ever in
Shorts.
the history of uniforms.
they
Shorts.
continue to be the hometown favorite. It's honest to God true. Like if you go to
Yeah.
games as I do, by the end of the season, they're so bad that the team will contact you and offer you free tickets because you'll go and you'll buy a sausage and you'll have a beer or whatever.
True.
And
Amazing.
that's nice. I like a
That's
team that appreciates me, you know?
I like that. I mean, I have a friend that recently he met someone who was from overseas, had no idea what baseball was, and he's like, "I want to get into baseball. Can you tell me like who I should follow?" And my friend thought it over, and he's like, "The White Sox." And convinced him the White Sox are the best idea. And I was like, you literally told this person that wants to know about baseball to follow the team that had the worst record in the history of the sport last year. Like, what do you hate this
Listen,
guy?
man, we're improving, is what I would say.
You can only
Every
go up.
day, every day is a little improvement. Yeah, no, it's
And that
fine.
you're talking about the sausages, right?
The sausages are on. There've never been a problem with the sausages. Sausages are great. The seeing a game is lovely. It's
No,
Frank
yeah.
Thomas
I've
is a
got total
winning.
props to you because I'm from the Bay Area and I would always root for the A's over the Giants just because
Yeah.
I like suffering. I like the underdog. It's fun. So
And the A's were yeah,
These are great though.
the A's were great. I grew up Italian on the East Coast, so of course I grew up naturally a Yankees fan,
yeah.
and their like fascist heel turn has made that harder and harder and harder to countenance. But nevertheless, the A's too. You lost the A's. My very beloved friend Mark, a big A's fan, he's like, no, I'm not going down the peninsula to watch them in
Sacramento.
their Sacramento game.
River.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah.
the A's don't count anymore because they don't have a first name or last name. They only have one
They
name.
were
The
stolen from
Athletics.
Oakland. They were stolen from the people of Oakland, hotbed of Vineland, one should say too. So yeah,
There we go. Good tie-in, good segue.
yeah. How
So,
about that?
so you wrote
How
a
about
book about
that?
this book. You
I
want to tell us
did.
about Vineland Reread, please?
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I don't really know how many years ago, Nick Dames, who some of you guys may know, he's just the loveliest dude, and he was trying to get up a series at Columbia, and he contacted me and it's like, hey man, we're thinking of putting together books that are like the way I would describe it is kind of like vernacular criticism, like a book about a 20th century novel that that is that you'll speak about in not non-academic idioms, but in ways that are sort of pitched to generalist audiences.
Hmm.
And I thought, because I wrote a thing for him about Sam Lipsyte, who I adore,
Wow.
and and so he was like, I thought maybe you'd be interested in this, and I was like, well, there is this book that I'm sort of like preposterously attached to. Like I have a lingering juvenile attachment that I can't shake, and I won't even pretend anymore not to be attached to it. And it's Vineland by Pynchon. He's like, do it, do
Yeah.
it. And he was great. And he and Philip, who you both probably, or you all probably
I know
know,
very well.
just lovely, lovely people to work with. And they were like, yeah, just like find a voice that you want to write it in and don't make it long. So it has to be like under 50,000 words or whatever.
Right.
And that was a pleasure. That was just a real delight to get to do to speak in your to speak in the voice that you speak in your off hours. You know what I mean? So
I like
that was just a pleasure.
I like the term vernacular criticism. We talked about this on the other podcast on the Mining in the Dalkey Archive one about Transit by Bernard Scher on like the difference between like being a book critic, a book reviewer, and then whatever the fuck this kind of podcasting sort of public thing is. Like the writing on the Substack, where it's not really any of those things, but it's something else that serves a purpose. And I like vernacular criticism. I think that fits a little bit more in terms of like it's not dumb. It's not Amazon reviews by any means, but it's also like not exactly like I was at a board meeting for the University of Rochester Press, and it's not those books either, right? Like it's something in between all of that, which I like.
Yeah, and I mean, as you know, like I write academic scholarship and stuff like I got great. It's not like a fuck you to that kind of writing. I got
Right.
real reverence for people thinking that hard, but I also write like I got a memoir, which is different from this still, and just
Yep.
being able to. I guess I'm a way to say it is I'm super grateful to the press because like getting a chance to like play up and down the keyboard of voices you might use in an encounter with an object has like meant a lot to me, and that was a fun thing to do with this book. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say since I'm the only one on here that has read it in full. I don't know if either of you have had the chance, but it's a great book, and it is set up in a way that, first of all, I kind of remember it came out in like 2022-ish, right?
I think it came
Or
out.
2020?
I wrote it in the summer of 2019, so that makes me want to say it came out in 2020 or 21. Yeah.
Okay, so that is early because I reread Vineland for the first time since college when it came out.
Oh, far out.
And I read it in like 97 and then read it again in 2021 or 2020. And then that book came out and I had it on my shelf. I don't know where the physical copy is, but I was like, wow, this book is really amazing. I'm glad someone else is talking about it again because it seems to fit our times. So now I read it while we were doing this. And the way that you have it structured is essentially like 4 different time periods where you read the book. And in each one of those 4 sort of works in the sense of like, here's a different sort of approach or a different thing to highlight, a different thing to pull out based on like the time. So like the first read where it's like the in jokes and the kind of the funniness of it, the humor, the sort of like way that you create a sort of social scene by having those kind of tokens of admiration that you share, but not everyone's in on. And then up through like the political side of things, the kind of like the various forms of like the structure of it, the criticisms from Kakutani. I'm not doing a good job of capturing these in barrels, but each one of them feels like it has another like element that it pulls out and looks at. And I think that's a really good way to approach this as that in the sense that it's not just Vineland reread one time, it's the process of rereading and seeing it differently each time through.
Yeah, that's very kind of you. I mean, it is you guys, I'm sure, and your listeners also, I'm sure, have like books to which you are implacably attached across lots of different climates of spirit and seasons of life. And when I was a kid, this book was a way to like be attached to the friends that I loved but didn't live near anymore. And
Yeah.
so you'd reread it compulsively, and then it changed. It became a way to think about things that I wanted to think about, like what is the shape of fascism in an American scene, and what is the shape of domestic forces of security and stuff like that. And the novel was never not there for me, and it was never not in a sentence to sentence way, like exhaustingly funny, like rackingly laughing myself, sort of stupid funny. And that came to just be more and more like humanly amazing to me. Like a book that's this sorrowful and this politically acute would never stop being compulsively funny. I find a lot to admire in that. Which is probably why, yeah, that's why I like Sam Lipsyte too, a bleak and hilarious writer. Yeah.
Speaking of, I've been I was meaning to grab it, but it's not on the table in front of me. Every time you say Sam Lipsyte, all I could think about is Adam Levin. Do you know Adam? The Instructions, Mount Chicago, Bubblegum. He's
Oh,
a
I don't
Chicago
know.
author too.
Oh, now I got it. I need to know more Chicago authors. I'm here for like demented, funny, and bleak. That's
That's
if that's what you're talking,
yep.
you've made a sale, you
Yep.
know?
Demented, funny, bleak, very Stanley Elkin influence. Got that same kind of kind of Jewish humor patter to it throughout and
Yeah.
like reflects on that. Fucking great writer. Great, great, great book. Also, I think it's Levin, but it might be Levine. I'm not certain how to say
Yeah.
his name. So, all apologies to
Homeland.
everyone involved.
Yeah. Homeland, which some of you guys know from whatever that is, 2004, 2006, is the novel that like in my whatever, however old I was then, when it came to me, I started compulsively rereading the way that I had reread Vineland, like just going back to a particular set of riffs and going back to particular scenes and stuff like that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is an interesting, I don't think that Sam's name has come up in comparisons. And I've actually, I mean, I've read The Ask, I think is the one of his that I've read. I know I have Homeland at home, or is Homeland or Homecoming? Sorry.
Homeland. Yeah.
Homeland. But it is sort of about a homecoming, right? Because it has the,
That's exactly what it is.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So I've read the jacket copy enough when I was figuring out which one I wanted to read first. But yeah, it's interesting because I do. I wonder if I were to go back and flip through or when the next Lipsit book I read, if I would be like, yes, that's also Pynchon-esque. And I, at the beginning of this season, expressed my kind of underlying anxiety about reading Pynchon because
Oh,
I I've always had this idea that I'm not equipped. But then I've had Chad and Brian and other people outside of the podcast point out that other authors who I have read are very much Pynchon-esque or sometimes even more complex. And then it's made me feel better. And if anyone cares, I'm happy to say I am 180 on the opposite side now. I'm no longer afraid of the Pynchon
well,
reading experience.
I mean, I want to say like one of the real reasons to write about Pynchon for me is like I'm academic and my thing is like 19th century America and queer theory and that sort of stuff. Like Pynchon is not like my field, but like there's a particular way that Pynchon started being talked about, probably from the moment he hit, which was just like very serious, very exalting, very fucking male, like a very dudeish delectation. And it was very alienating. I know a lot of people that I love, who didn't want anything to do with Pynchon because it was just like, oh Jesus, like another like heavy dude. And I just wanted to write a book that was actually he's very companionable and humane and also fucking hilarious and silly writer. And he's not actually just all about like entropy and in jokes about middle European states and shit like that. Like,
Right.
and I totally, but I learned to respect people being like, yeah, bro, no, I'm not. I'm not doing that. And they had been sufficiently alienated by the kind of talk that gathered around him, particularly in like the fog banks of the 70s, that I was like, you know what? That's totally fair. He has a line in some account of himself when he has a issue of his early stories, and he's like, these stories may be bad, you may think so, whatever's fair. And I ended up thinking that's a good attitude, like whatever's fair. Like that's whatever. Yeah, that seems right.
Agree
Absolutely.
Yeah.
with that. There's that, isn't it the Salinger thing from Catcher in the Rye where he's like, oh, I'd want to read a book where I just want to call up the author afterwards and talk with them. I would smoke so many joints with Thomas Pynchon and have the best fun.
Like a
Thousand
fun,
percent.
a legit funny thing is like, as you guys know, like you put things in the world and weird things come back. And like Thomas Pynchon is actually not an unknown person.
No,
Like
I mean, his wife I
his
worked with before, like on
right.
books, because
It's
she's an
like
intern.
his
It's not,
like you meet people and they know him because his
no one.
kids in
Yep.
school, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
But so you write this book and then you do things, and I get email from people, and I got a nice email from a man in California who was just like, "Oh, I really appreciated your book. I knew Tom for a while," and I was like, "Tom?" He's like, "Well, yeah." And I was like, "Well, I got to ask you. It's a shame thing to ask, but what was he like?" He's like, "He's just what you'd think he'd be. He's very funny. He's filled with jokes. He's a little private, which is mostly like time protection. Like he works and works and works, and he writes a lot. But he's like a very lovely dude at a party." And just has like a good, like laid back sense of humor about him. And I thought that was sort of heartening. That was a heartening discovery of writing the book and having that come back in the world. Like Thomas Pynchon, a dude who would be fun to hang out with. Um,
100%. That's what I've heard too. Same sorts of stories. I mean, he's around. It's not like,
yeah.
but like, I thank God that we haven't gotten to the point where people are like still trying to harass and find him and make him give interviews about his feelings on Paul Thomas Anderson or any of that shit. Like, I don't want any of that at
Yeah.
all. And I'm glad that there's someone out there that say
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's a beautiful thing.
And I'm
Someone
glad he's still alive because he's not young, you know what I mean? And
Oh, I
he's
know.
not young. And I wanted the nice thing about the book is like, you know what? This is a guy. There's a million authors of whom this could be said, like, but I can't really write a thank you note to Sarah Orne Jewett, you know? But I got to write this in a sort of kind of giving thanks. This gave me a more joy than anyone had a right to expect from a book they bought at a paperback discount in the north side of Chicago in whatever 1994. So
Brilliant.
yeah.
Brilliant. So we should jump into this last part because I want to come back to the movie and your interpretation of it and have like talk more about the book as a whole. But just to summarize this section, I did not do my homework for this podcast, so we're going off of what I finished reading before I went to see the movie. But more or less, what I can remember, you guys fill in all the gaps, is that essentially the Rex 84 exercise, which was a scenario by the federal government to detain large numbers of United States residents so they could start a war and get rid of everyone who is objectionable, which feels, again, very much on point with what's going on today. That is being put into play, essentially. Everyone is gathered in Vineland. Brock is there with all the troops. They're going to like fuck everything up. Zoid and Isaiah 24 are trying to gather guns to have a counterinsurgency. Everything's going to shit.
Their weapons deal falls through.
Their weapons deal falls through. Nobody.
Their weapons deal with the bikers gang who are the sisters of somebody because they want to franchise themselves that way. Yeah.
Exactly, and they can do all kinds of violence as long as it's God's will, right? So like
Yeah.
they're all good with all that. That all falls apart. Farnese shows up, obviously. They get to meet. There's a lot of this section has a lot of like love for her,
Yeah.
both among people like especially Zoid and her new husband, whose name is not Justin.
Flash. Yeah.
Flash, that's it.
Flash.
Justin is the son, yeah.
Justin's the son, and Justin and Prairie hit it off. Flash and Zoid are like, kind of buddy. They get it. Everyone's kind of obsessed with Farnese, which is
so
important.
cute.
It's very
Yeah.
sweet.
It's
And you
sweet.
have Brock come down out of a helicopter, a la something out of like Looney Tunes, come hovering above Prairie sleeping in the forest and is like, I'm actually your father, like a la
I'm
Darth
your
Vader
father, Prairie. It's just such a great, like your readers should know that the whole thing takes place up in like by Arquetta and Eureka, which is in fact where, as they mentioned in the book, Return of the Jedi was filmed. So that his culminating line is like the famous iconic declaration of the 80s, I'm your father, is fucking fantastic and like both tender and comic and absurd and grave. And then she delivers an amazingly funny insult.
So good. So good.
Yeah, and he's puzzled by it. He sort of has to pause to parse what she has said to him. Yeah.
Isn't it like it's like it implies that it's like minutes after he gets like zoop like pulled back to the copter, or do you think
no, what's super smart. So, like it's a comic book, but Pynchon is actually thinking about the 80s, which is also a time of financial regress, and all that happens to Brock is his funding gets pulled.
Yeah.
Which is
like it's just austerity.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's austerity, and his funding gets pulled, whoop, and he gets winched back up. And then we discover that he dies on the road and he gets taken to hell by Vato and Blood in a scene that is so beautiful and so moving, where they take him to the underworld.
Yeah.
But meanwhile Prairie is in her sleeping bag among the gigantic trees.
Wanting another occurrence. So I have her line in front of me just so we don't misquote it.
Don't misquote, yeah.
But you can't be my father, Mr. Bond. My blood is type A, yours is preparation H. Zing!
And he says, like, as Brock tries to puzzle the complex insult, he gets so held up. Like, I just love the idea of him looking at her like,
what? It's like a Looney Tunes ending. It's like, is how I envision it, of like coming down and then being like, whoop, and like just being sucked up into the plane and then, or the helicopter and like driving away all crazy and then boom, all gone. Done.
The visual comedy in this section seems, maybe just because it's so packed, but it seems ramped up to what we've experienced previously. Like there's one that's my favorite line of the week, so I'm not going to say it yet, but there's one where I think it's Hector is talking to Sid maybe, and he's like super, or like the two guys, and he's being super intense, and it describes the one of them like as I think it says Hector is talking, he's like slowly like scooting his rolling chair back further and further until he's like up against the credenza. Just the visual comedy of it is like it's like stage directions if you were a very anal retentive, detail oriented playwright, and I love it.
Yeah, it's
It's
great.
good. So good.
It's great. A lot, yeah. A lot. What I talk about when I get asked to talk about the book is like, well, this is a book about anti-fascism. It's an anti-fascist book. Pynchon's an anti-fascist writer. He's been thinking about fascism his whole career. It's why he writes about fucking World War II. He's an anti-fascist writer.
Daddy
That
Antifa.
that
Yeah.
anti-fascism can be so and must be for Pynchon so fucking funny.
Yes.
Like the real inheritor of the Wobblies and the blacklisted parents and the union active family is Prairie, and she deploys her anti-fascism with a complex joke. Is a real it gets something very true about Pynchon that would continue to be true in later books. Was it seemed to me focusing in the years, he was writing Mason and Dixon while he wrote this. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
so good. So
Brian, what
good.
did you think of this? Because you had mentioned early on in one of our episodes, you said something about like, oh, on like a typical book, I've this is gonna be an extended question. In a typical book, this you'd end up with Brock Bond being her father, and I explicitly did not say a word because I wanted that to like rest
Mm.
there as it is. But you also focus on like how this book is really a sitcom, and this whole setup is the sitcom, romance sort of ending where all the people come together, everything gets sorted out, the people end up with who they need to be with, and everything is sort of resolved, but in this like sitcom-y sort of way.
Sure.
Even so far as DL and Takeshi ending up fucking and like getting rid of their thing. They're like, we could have been fucking this whole time. Like, let's get rid of that clause from our little thing. Like, it's all very funny, and everyone, Jane Austen style, ends up where they need to be.
Yeah, in some ways it kind of goes less sitcom, and then for me, do you remember as a kid, uh, the knockoff Looney Tunes was the Hanna-Barbera. They had like the terrible
Yeah,
knockoff
man.
Those are
everything,
great.
right? And they would do those races where you
Yeah, the
get
Great
all the
Race.
people together and they have different cars
Yep.
and they're going along doing their thing, and each one has their own encounters, but at the very end they all clash together and it's just absolute utter chaos.
Yeah,
And to me, this was like the end of the race. We're seeing all these cartoon characters smash into each other, and it's glorious.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
it's
a lot is like, some people write about it and they're like, well, this is a like, it's, it, anything Pynchon read, he's in tense relation to the 19th century novel, which he both reveres, like the guy who names his narrator Wick's Cherry Coke is not a guy whose affection for like Dickens you have to wonder about, but that he's always like detuning and reparsing. And I think that's just very right about the like orchestrated ending of the novel that includes things like taking Brock to the underworld that Vato and Blood have had access to all along. The
right.
Thanatoid village continues to be a live thing where Weed, who was killed by essentially by Prairie's mom, can be seen walking in the woods with Prairie and stuff like that. Yeah,
They hit it off
yeah,
too. They come together.
yeah,
Kaya, you had a
yeah.
question about the Thanatoids.
Yeah, and so I asked right before we hopped on, I said if there was time, I wanted to bring it up and just have someone explain Thanatoids to me. And then Chad immediately is like, well, they're dead. It's the Bardo. I'm like, yeah, yeah, I get that. And like literally in this last section, Weed is like explains it again and explains again like the Bardo aspect, which I know from books that Open Letter has published and from George Saunders and whatever else. But it's just like every time it starts to talk about it, like it's, I think once it gets into the community building of the Thanatoids, I'm just like, what is this? Like there's like a
Yeah.
village, they have like a
Thanatoid
system,
village.
but they're not a
Shade
system, and
Creek.
that's the part of it where, sorry,
Shade Creek.
Shade Creek, yeah, where it's
Shade
like
being ghosty.
because everything else is so comes across as so realistic and of today moment that the Thanatoid part of it, I have trouble. Like if it were in a different book, like if it were in Tomb of Sand, for example, which has that magic realism writ large, maybe I probably would just be like, of course, it's just the Shade Creek village. But because everything else is so now, like I don't know, it's definitely a me problem. But every time
No,
I have a
I think there's something though that's worth putting on that. So like our descriptions, I think will be somewhat similar in terms of like how they're described in here. But one thing that if you haven't read Gravity's Rainbow, there is a lot about like spiritualism and the dead within that. Like there is an obsession with like what the other side of the mirror would be. And like the even the idea of like a rainbow being a circle and you just don't see the other half of it sort of vibe. That there is that other aspect to Pynchon that's not realistic, that's not wedded into like math theories and different equations or whatnot, or entropy, like you like to say. And it has a bit of that. So like for there to be like ghosts that wander around that have to like earn off the make up for the wrongs that they've done in their past to move on, doesn't seem out of place to me in a Pynchon book. But I could see if you had a vision of Pynchon of a certain sort, that would just be like, what the fuck? There's ghosts. Like, where are we talking about here?
I mean, I do want to say like a thing, and I share your like when I was first reading the first when I was first reading for the first decade and a half I was reading the book, I was like, the fuck, man, I don't really. But then okay, I got more of the Bardo, I got like
Mhm.
things, justices unrighted in the world, and then I just thought, which I think is right, like it's one of Pynchon's ways of thinking about Vietnam. Like there, that's
Interesting.
Vietnam. That's Vietnam. There are Vietnam, the presence of Vietnam and the unquiet dead from Vietnam, particularly in Northern California, is a
mm,
lot on the book's mind. It's where Vado and Blood meet, of course.
Yeah.
It's and he's thinking about like if you're writing a book about like the afterlives of a genuinely insurrectionary political moment, which is 68, 69, and you want to write about how, like you guys were saying, like television particularly has helped you metabolize that era insanely falsely, like a PBS fundraiser, like, oh, it's counterculture, there are hippies, and Pynchon's like, actually, there are a shit ton of young people who took up arms, who are in a state of like armed insurrection. And but we forget that. Why? Because of the like sanctification of cops and security that it's come after. Television is one of the real places that. Anyway, if you're writing that novel, trying to remetabolize the insurrectionary moment of 68, 69, you're going to think about the afterlives of Vietnam too. And I feel like the Thanatoids are one way that Pynchon is trying to imagine a world held together by justices impossible to write, and also thinking about like barbiturates, like also think about like the
Fair.
because there's all they play the what's his name, Van Meter is often playing in Thanatoid bands,
Yep.
and they just play so slow.
Yeah. Dance so slow.
At the
There.
dance, yeah.
When you mentioned TV, one thing you didn't mention in the kind of recap is that Hector's writing a movie, making a movie in which it's
They
all
make a
about
movie with
this.
Sid Liftoff, yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna be in Vegas. He's the one who finds Bernese, sets us all. This will be the ending scene. Beautiful,
Dude,
beautiful.
it's interesting. I'll just say, I don't want to preempt talking about the movie. It's interesting that, Frenese's not actually an armed insurgent, though she's close to armed insurgents. She's a filmmaker.
She's a filmmaker.
And
Yeah,
in the movie, Paul Thomas Anderson, not thinking about films. Nobody's making films.
nobody
Nobody's
makes
making
sense.
films. Nobody's making films. Nobody's making films. And I thought that was like a striking, um, like he could have had a lot of fun with that. There's a like interestingly self-chastening impulse, which I admire and which I think he kind of pulled off in the movie. They're not filmmakers, you know what I mean?
They're
Partially because it's in a different era. It's 2006, 2008 or whatever. But
yeah,
that
yeah.
was striking to me.
There's also no TV. The only
Yeah.
TV that's shown is Leo watching Bob watching
Yeah, he's
the
watching
Battle
Battle
for
of
Algiers.
Algiers. Yeah, he's watching a
Yeah,
movie. Yeah.
yeah.
He's
Watching the
watching
movie. And
what
then
the
there's
great anti-fascist movie. Yeah.
there's a reference that my friend reminded me of this morning that he quoted, and he's like, "You were laughing at it," and I was like, "Fuck, I don't, man, I laugh at a lot of stuff, and I don't remember." But something about like the perfect science is advertising,
Yeah.
and which I was like, I kind of remember that line, but I don't really remember that part of it. But that's the only other reference
Yeah.
I could think of that's connected to that.
I mean, it was interesting. I'm gonna have to think about it more. I was telling Chad I did a thing after the movie the other day. Like I just saw the movie and then was on podcast talking about it like with the audience. So it's like but one thing that I think about, like, so the trying to tell people who hadn't read it, like the book is very seriously about like, well, by 1990, we've already metabolized the 60s in this soft focus, gauzy finally obscuring for Pynchon amnesiac way, like a period of anti-state insurrectionary politics metabolized as like, and then hippies had a lot of sex.
Yeah.
And when he thinks about why that is, he thinks about like the triumph of security, and he thinks about TV shows about cops and stuff like that. But if you're going to make a movie about the aughts, like then you'd have to talk about like September 11th was the last moment when there was any like party opposition to total securitization of everyday
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And that's been gone since the fucking Patriot Act, which everybody signed. There is
Right.
no major party opposition to like total securitization
Like
as way of
25
life.
years ago, man.
And that's a long time ago. Yeah, and so that would have been hard to figure. And I think Anderson is sort of smart for not doing that, for
Yeah.
thinking about something else, you know?
There's also the reference in here to like how they're using like short form video to like help indoctrinate people against that are the addicts, the TV addicts. They're like, we can wean you off with like short form video content.
Yeah.
And like if you were
Yeah.
to transport that into a movie set today, you'd have to be like, dude, that's not gonna work, man. That's way more addictive.
Dr.
That's
Dennis
awful.
Deeply. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't be
That's-
making movies and at this point in time. You're just making TikTok reels.
Yep, it's just TikToks.
There was one line, it was a section before that I found really interesting where they're talking about they talk about the camera as a gun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with how pervasive media is in this, and then the way the government weaponizes media, I really like that idea of what he plays around with the camera being a gun. And then when I kind of like applying it to like where we're at today, it's a really frightening idea to wrap your head around. It really freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you as a resident of Chicago. I'll just see this needs to be no one else's opinion but my own, but like we have brown shirt armies
Yeah.
and they want nothing so much as for someone to shoot at them.
Yep.
Because once that happens,
You can do
then you
anything.
have a state of emergency. Like Pynchon is the person who, with a number of other basically anti-colonial theorists, taught me what fascism is. What's
Mhm.
fascism? It's like the waging of colonial wars against internal populations. That's what it made, like population management via state violence and like militarized penal sociality. Got it. And Pynchon was thinking about that as thing of 68 as like a moment of consolidation, not as inauguration or anything. But like, dudes, we are as down the gullet of that as it is possible for anyone to be at the moment. Like national politics just declaring, well, we are now at war with enemies internal to the nation.
People like
And we're
me.
going to marshal our military resources.
Yep.
Yeah, just like counterinsurgency as way of life. And that to me just makes Vineland not less funny, not less sad, but really fucking prescient and really energizing. And I appreciate that Paul Thomas Anderson was like,
Yep.
I see this. I see this. I'm going to make that movie and I'm not going to put it in the past, which is weird because he always puts his movies in the past.
Right. That's what someone,
In a
that's
present
I,
tense.
because I haven't seen all of them, but I saw that as a reference that this is like the only movie of his that's in the present.
Maybe Punch Drunk Love.
Punch Drunk Love was pretty
Oh,
present.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also less. That's
Yeah.
not a movie that's thinking about like every form of security just says
Yeah.
police in big letters on it.
Yeah. Like Magnolia is pretty present, I think, as well. But
Is it really? Yeah, I guess that would be.
it's interesting because I've not seen the film yet, but the timing of it seems striking because I think back to like There Will Be Blood, and we're about to have an economic collapse.
Yeah,
And so like the two like most prescient movies that were on the scene was No Country for Old Men and There Will Be Blood. And megalomaniacs, money, and just the blood, death, terror, torture that happens because of that greed. It's like it was very canary in the coal mine, those two movies. And then
yeah.
this one comes out, and what's the other one where it's the small town and the sheriff goes nuts on social media or something?
Don't know.
It's a
You're talking
really
about-
bizarre.
Eddington?
Eddington?
Yeah, that real
Eddington's awesome.
I've
Yeah,
seen that one.
but when you have both these films come out, it's kind of like, all right, I kind of guess I know where we're headed. Oh no! Oh no!
I mean, I guess I'll say I don't know if you guys got to see it yet, but it's jolting
Mhm.
because it's jolting to watch a movie that features like armed insurrection.
Yeah.
Like that's, and those are the protagonists.
I mean, to be
And they're not,
fair, when I watched
they're
that, I
not,
had the same reaction that
they're
Sean
not,
Penn
which is what?
did. The mess
What it
of the
was Sean.
kitchen.
No.
Um,
Oh, I see. I mean, that's jolting to see. They're not pathologized. They're not delegitimated. They're not Oedipalized. Oh, it's some secret family story. It's just one of the kinds of repertoire of response to what is just absolutely figured as state violence. Police are not redeemed in the movie. Forces of security are not redeemed. Like, just all of that is jolting to
Mhm.
watch inside, what is also mainstream narrative. And
yeah.
that seems to me like I'm just gonna keep saying that seems to me like an attentive reading of Pynchon. The point of which is not like only armed rebellions work. The movie's also enormously about like organization.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's incredibly moving scenes of like
I
lateral
don't
org,
know what
like little
time it
kids
is.
helping people out. The families helping each other under like all that. So it like the opposite of fascism for the book doesn't seem to be the gun. The opposite of fascism is organization. But it does not take a position like, well, if you have a gun, it's illegitimate. Doesn't say that at all, which
No.
is fucking astonishing after
Yeah.
however 50 years of like the only people who should have guns and should use them as much as they want all the time are the police.
Yeah. I
That's intense, man. That's like an intense thing to see in a mainstream bit of narrative.
so is it okay if we go into spoiling the movie? Is there anything about the book that you, Kaya, or Brian wanted to talk about before we like go into this? Because I do have a question related to it and can frame it. I know that you're both going to see it. I don't know that there's a lot to like give away, because it is this book, but not this book.
I am curious what you guys think about between the epitaph and then the bookends with the dog.
Yeah, it's so sweet. I just the thing. I mean, one of the things I love about Pynchon is like his comic, but also humane attentiveness to like animal life, like the talking dog in Mason Dixon, who he
There's
says,
a dog in this.
Mason says, "Take me to your owner," and he says, "I'm an English dog, sir. No man owns me." Like.
Yep. Yep.
Like one thing to say is like for me, a thing to love about Pynchon for all of his like world comprehending imagination, he writes at the scale of he's a humane writer.
Mhm.
He's capable of humane effects and people's pets and the animal world that's around us is one of the place that lands for me. With Desmond
Because
coming back
because
and
I was
forth.
But
wondering,
the
is it
the
a
ending. Oh,
go
sorry,
ahead?
Brian. Real quick, your ending part and the first part, what it does have in both the first and last lines are Blue Jays.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's
Squadron of Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Toronto. It's something about Toronto. I don't
Some
know
Canadian,
what that means.
pro-Canadian
Oh my God,
nonsense.
yeah. Yeah, that's where we really get its anti-fascism. It's like we're gonna cue the Canadian Mounties. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, Canada will be the theme song for this week.
And like I don't know if it's like I love the idea like gosh like how many freaking layers and themes are in this book, but um I like the idea too of loyalty, and the way we see loyalty played out with the different characters.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, is a dog supposed to be man's best friend and is loyal to the end? Is are we supposed to read that far into it, or is it just can we just have a little bit of something touching after all of this?
Yeah, dude. I mean, for me, what's super touching about it, people didn't like it, as you know, people didn't like it at the time for a variety of reasons because it wasn't like Gravity's Rainbow. It was so comic, it was so silly, it was so
Yeah.
cartoonish. Salman Rushdie, to his credit, was like, dude, this is a fucking great political novel.
Yeah, he
But
loved it.
one thing to say about it, seems to me, is that it's thinking hard about the different kinds of what you might, in fanciful language, call oppositional social organizations. The family is one,
Yeah.
obviously, but this is not that like Brock may or may not be her dad.
Right.
Fuck cares, right?
Yeah.
The family is one, the film collective is another, the underground is another, the sisters are another. It's
extended
constantly
family.
proliferating like ways of being together in opposition to fascism that both map onto but are not reducible to the family. And the dog is part of that, right? Like the dog is part of that, ends at a big family reunion. But the family, who are they all? They're all wobblies. They're all union people. He reads like the union is obviously the presiding form of it for the whole thing. And I think Anderson, again, to his real credit, picks up on that. And the movie is filled with like familial-ish forms that are not families. that are people organized because they're going to do a bit of activism, people organized because they're going to try to rescue migrants, people organized by being in this group together, but also in a family or in a kind of family. So
That's
that's,
what
I
the
think, where I
Benicio del Toro character is really exemplifies that. And that there's like an extended sequence in which he's like helping migrants escape, and they have like a whole kind of
they have
backup
a
plan
network.
and then as I keep wanting to call him Zoid, Bob is introduced or goes with Del Toro to like try and escape from Lockjaw and escape from everyone coming to hunt him down. He's that scene lasts forever because he keeps
Yeah.
stopping and be like, here's, this is Mary, this is this. They go into another, this is who this is. You need to meet this person. He's like, I need to plug in my phone. He's like, no, you need to say hi first. You
Yeah.
can't do that. It's like this whole bit of like meeting those people, and then they have this like incredibly slick plan that's filmed beautifully for like this crazy
Rooftops.
multi-level apartment escape, plus like the rooftop part where Bob falls, and that was probably the funniest part of the whole movie to me. I
Yeah.
could
A little slapstick. You'd be happy to know there's a little slapstick in it.
not,
But
yeah,
yeah, right? There's lots and lots of forms of quiet organization, like
which is
people
interesting because the organization.
mobilized together.
And that's interesting because I mean, I am a hater on like the protest movements of our times right now. It's like a form of organization. I feel like they're ineffective and just like back thumpy. I saw one today about a protest taking place in Hamlin outside of Rochester. I'm like, who the fuck are you even going to protest to? Like, this is dumb. But then there's
Real quick, just to clarify, we all know you are pro protest. You just don't like how they're doing it.
I don't like how they're doing. I'm pro direct action. I'm
Sorry.
I'm pro revolution. I just think that the sign making and standing around at the corner of the street where I live and is ineffective and is not going to have a lot of impact, but it makes the people feel good. We also then have at this point in time these kind of quasi social family structures that are all tribal and based around like Twitter and other sorts of forms of things that are like not so good. So the book is like a weird version of that, where like these things, this kind of organization, this sort of like finding each other and creating this scheme is very positive and is always positive. But in our world now, that's not always positive. It's a little bit
I
more
don't think
like,
that's. Yeah, I'm going to disagree. I don't think it's
okay,
always positive. I think Pynchon's often worried about the ways like small
that's fair.
solidarities turn into
Yeah.
something else. Particularly his early books, that's what they're all about. They're all about like
Yes.
insane paranoia about that. At the same time, I think as he gets older, and he's writing this book when he's just about my age or maybe a little younger,
Right. It's like,
um, he's thinking about actually, you fight where you are. You fight where you are. You fight where you are. That's an old, I believe, wobbly slogan. You fight where you are, you organize where you are, and that's what you do. And you make common cause with the people around. That's what you do. That jets itself out, that attaches itself to larger solidarities in one way or another, but you fight where you are. And he has this sort of like, again, humane generosity toward those. Um, Sometimes small scale, sometimes large scale, sometimes effective, sometimes ineffective, sometimes annoying, sometimes not annoying. Solidarities. A nice thing about the Paul Thomas Anderson movie is like, yeah, doing politics with other people is annoying because other people are annoying, but there is no other way. Like, there is no other way. Of course, the guy on the phone is going to fucking annoy you because part of what solidarity means is like being together all in with your whole life with people you may not even like. And that's I think Anderson gets that right in a way that was like moving to me. Like, oh, that guy's been bored at a meeting. Good.
yeah,
Good.
that's all fair.
That's
all
what I really liked about the climax of this too, because like how idiotic is it to have a crackdown at Vineland? What is the point? That is just it's obviously it's selfishly motivated by Brock, but it's like one, this is dumb. And then how ill-equipped are the Vinelanders at at revolting? They are like beyond like it's absolutely hilarious. But it doesn't matter. You fight where you are, you resist with whatever you have, and it's the fact that you do it publicly. That's like, what do you do in the face of this, like, just bizarre fascism? This bizarre, like, you have to just
It's
you have to publicly show it for what it is,
and
and you
you be with people you
with a
remember.
camera.
You
yeah,
never forget that we are more than they are.
correct.
And that's
It's
hard. There's a real, again, sorry to talk about the film. You guys haven't seen it. Like, you'll remember
no,
from
go
the
ahead.
novel that like kind of funny scene where DL and Prairie meet in the bathroom at the Wave On wedding.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's played like the same thing. There's the same like transponder.
But it's a different thing, and it works so
Played
much better in the movie in
super.
a way.
Yeah, I agree. It's played in a different tone,
Yeah.
and it's played around fear. Like
Yes.
one of the things I find really moving about the movie that I hope you guys will see is like
Yeah.
there's a lot of fucking fear in it. Like
Oh yeah.
Leo, as he's getting old, is great at looking harried and frightened. And there's this scene where this girl is confronted by a stranger in the bathroom, and she says, they say the codes and the passwords, and she says, I need you to trust me.
And
Do you
yeah.
trust me? And it's a frightening moment, like, and it was a good register of like, oh, like even these small acts of solidarity are terrifying, and every day there's a little more at stake in them. And so yeah, that was a pretty.
They do that in like the number of threes too, or in the rule of threes too, with the repetition that if you can answer this code, then you are automatically trustworthy and to be trusted with their life. But then it comes up 2 more times in which leave that for what it is. Although I do like Benicio del Toro's like side comment. If anyone misses this, when Leo keeps telling, I don't know what fucking time it is,
But
and
he
he's
does.
like 8:15. And that's like, and it just goes on. You're just like, this is the best joke. So when you're talking about Brian, where it's absurd, where they're all coming down in Vineland, the movie does give a different rationalization for why Lockjaw / Brock Bond is so intensely wanting this to happen,
Which I don't love.
Which I think it works really well.
I don't love. I'm not crazy about it. I'm not crazy about it.
I like the idea of a general of that sort wanting to be part of like a secret fascist white supremacist group. And like that feels very Pynchonian to me, like that there would be a sort of subterranean group like that.
Yeah.
And then
kind of.
It does justify the movie in a way, where justifies those scenes in a way, which works for a movie much better than it would for the book in particular. Because the movie needs one more beat to make that function. Because if you just have it be like what it is in the book, it won't look right. It won't feel right to like that sort of audience. But I think that part is fun, especially because in the end, what Lockjaw is essentially getting when he gets accepted is a new office, which runs into our jokes from last week about how Brock Bond is basically the guy in the office that you're all making fun of behind his back.
Yeah, he's a functionary.
Up again.
I do love that about the novel, that he'll never be let in. He'll never be let in. He'll never be let in. He'll be seated at Ed Meese's right hand, but he won't be Ed Meese.
Yeah. Yeah. But I like that. I like the white supremacist people. I feel like they're very close to home.
I felt like that was X-Files for me. That was a joke that didn't quite land. But then at the same time, it's hard to like visualize or thematize in a movie Capital. Like that's what he tried to do with the Will There Be Blood, which is like a 17-hour movie, reminding you how hard it is to get a visual figure for Capital as such. But the
fact that they're called like the Christmas Adventurers, like it's all so funny at the same time. It's got enough of it's Christmas Adventure somethings. But it's got that like white supremacy mixed with like Looney Tunes era aspect to it. And I think like taken that way, I thought it was great.
There are some interesting, like you guys are talking about the prescience, and it's true, but there's these like micro, like, so seeing street battles, which is cops invading cities, is intense. But there's micro differences, right? Like the cops are not masked, and you notice that. Right. When they're imprisoning migrants, they have those like lycra blankets, which I associate really with Biden and not the current administration. And those like it's funny how those things. The movie was made a year and a half ago. It's funny how those differences like sharpen.
So here's intent.
Hmm?
A lot of intent.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of intent when it was made, though, provincialized a little bit by 18 months or 10 months. You know what I mean? And that's striking. That's just like, yeah, it's very jolting. The beginning of the movie, which is like the insurrectionary part, is just fucking captivating.
It's really
good.
It's
like it's a 2-hour, 50-minute movie. I'm definitely a person who's like, do movies have to be this long? I don't know that they do. But it went by like I couldn't believe it. Like it would just like click, 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 click.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
it
see it again
snaps
this
into
week.
place. Like it runs through. So structurally, it's different than the book in the sense that like all of that we learn in a flashback is told chronologically from the jump. The other big difference is that They're both using the characters in the book. Frenzy and Zoid were both in a revolutionary army in the movie. The Bob and God, what's her name? Perfidia are
Perfidia.
part of they are like part of the revolutionary action, firing weapons, taking things over, doing destruction, versus in the book
Yeah.
where they meet after the shooting and all that stuff. She is most distinctly a rat in the movie, which is a difference that gives it like a little bit of momentum that I think would have been hard to capture exactly without making that one scene really, really work.
I mean, the other thing was super worth saying is like Vineland is a book about like insurrectionary movements in the 60s, and it's super fucking white. Like it's a
Yeah.
campus revolution sort of movie. And I think Anderson has the good sense to see, like, oh, you think that fascism is like colonial counterinsurgencies. It actually makes really good sense if the armed insurrectionaries are not all fucking white people and are thinking about the history of black insurrection and the history of sort of like anti-migrant violence. And he does that. He does that very, very like seamlessly. And
Yeah,
yeah,
which to tie
which is
this
a
back
good
into
corrective to the novel, if you're me.
Yeah, and which to tie this in and like bring up those Christmas adventures again is like what tying it in the book where Brock Vaughn believes that he is Prairie's father. In the movie, Prairie or Willa is half black. So that becomes like the kind of like rationale. That's where like all that stuff starts to lock up a little bit for the movie version of things to like
Yeah,
keep things on its guardrails that makes sense as a motivation because we see that all the time. Like
yeah,
this.
not to spoil it for you guys, but like the question, Chad or Brian, you were asking for like why attack Vineland? In the movie, it's really clear. It's because Lockjaw wants into this cabal,
Mhm.
and he's afraid they'll discover that he once had an affair, like Frenzy does with Brock, with this black woman, and may or may not have had a child. So he has to kill them both. So that's how the movie,
That's
that's what the plot is, rather than the whole making a film,
yeah.
Brock having his like Ed Meese thing.
Well,
And it has the virtue
if
of
we stay on
clarity.
our trajectory, we can go past abortion and kill the actual children if we don't like them, and maybe the mom too.
Yep.
That's definitely and dude, there's a
Important.
lot of things that are chilling in the movie. Like we sit down with a lot of agents of security,
Yeah.
somewhere between military and police, talking to kids.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And just with a cold, like talking to high school kids. Like,
Yeah.
there's that
That
scene
part's
with
tense.
Roscoe. Remember Roscoe, Brock Vaughn's partner, who like thinks to
Yeah.
himself about the
Yeah.
things he's done to children? Like
Uh,
that comes up, and it comes up in these just completely cold, cold scenes, which are meant and properly do invoke ice and everything like that. And it's chilling. Like I'll say about the movie, it's not that funny. Like it has its funny moments. It's
Yeah.
not like Vinyl. It's not a constant every fourth sentence is there to make you laugh.
We don't get Ray
Um,
Parker Jr. in the soundtrack, Ghostbusters,
no,
or
we don't get Woody Allen in the Young
yeah.
Kissinger. We don't get
Yeah.
Lee
Woody Allen
Isadora
playing
in the
Kissinger
Clara
is
Bow
classic.
story.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't get Check is in the Mayo. We don't
Yeah.
get the vibrating palm, my favorite joke in the book,
cheating
probably.
romance. Yeah.
No.
No, we don't get the Godzilla footprint, you know?
Ah,
No.
last.
No.
I
You guys just
know.
canceled
All
the
that
movie.
British is cut it, which is going to be my question for you is that on the Reddit threads and on the
Oh
one
my
of my
God, dude.
friends.
God bless you for going in.
So I only looked at, I don't really look at that many of these things, especially related to Pynchon in the movie, because I didn't want to know anything going in. I don't really care what
Yeah.
people say afterwards. I think it's all kind of a little bit silly, like what they're writing and like criticizing. But the one question I had that came up enough times that made me think about it was people saying, well, this isn't at all Vineland. This has no Vineland in it. It has maybe a couple themes, but it's not at all. It's inspired by maybe. And I had a friend text me and was like, well, I was disappointed that there's no Vineland in it. And I was like, what I saw the whole thing as being it's this book, it's the guardrails, it's the way that it's going to work, everything. Like I had to piss so bad towards the end of that movie, and I was like, but I know what this movie is, I know where this is going to end, I know we're at the end, I cannot leave now because there can't be more than like 20 minutes, there's no more to, I know where this is going. And
Yeah.
to me it seemed like very very Vineland like and different in tone. There's not the humor, but it's like the bits and pieces that put it together to make it the story that wants to be told about the insurrection and the moment of like potential freedom versus the state clamping down on that. That part's all there. So to me, it was like a very kind of like not faithful adaptation, but it was an adaptation.
No, Chad, I think I was asked, so after the movie, I was with a Paul Thomas Anderson guy, and they were like, well, he just did an adaptation. And Inherent Vice really is an adaptation.
True.
Like that's like filming them. And I was asked, what do I think was this? And I just thought it was a riff, like a very loving riff by a person who loved the book and thought fucking hard about it and
Yeah.
thought about what the book is and
And
then made a movie from it. So I was not disappointed that it wasn't sufficiently violent or anything like that. You know what I mean? It seemed to get like the anti-fascism of the book. It seemed to get the like mobilized, organized collectivities of the book, and then the structure itself of like families being looser. I thought, yeah, I didn't find myself disappointed by that at all.
I
Again, if you were looking for like being antic comedy and Roadrunner puns
and like 60s vibe and like even the 80s vibe, that's not there.
no,
It's not at
it's
that
just
point in time. But
relocated.
I don't
It's
know. Yeah, that doesn't bother me. I'm so much more obsessed with structure and that sort of like how you have to solve these problems in different medias, that like that idea of it like looking the what I want the book to how I read the book doesn't register for me at all. We've
yeah, man,
decided
it
I'm a
real
psychopath through reading and talking about all these books, especially this one. I feel like I'm just a psychopath now.
Here's
no,
the
I
take it with a grain of salt, but it says that according to the Wikipedia page for this movie, he'd been wanting to do an adaptation of Vineland for years, but thought because he loved the book so much it'd get in the way, he couldn't rework it. So he set it aside and was writing like separate stories. And one battle after another emerged as a combination of these stories with some elements of Vineland,
that's
particularly the
great.
Yeah.
father-daughter dynamic.
I
I
have a
mean,
great
yeah,
admiration for that man. Like I realized in the question and answer that that guy is like exactly my age. Paul Thomas is maybe a year older than me.
yeah,
We share a lot of sensibilities. This book found us both when we were young. I wanted to write a book in the thing that I do, which is criticism, to like say something about really being indebted to this book and really being and he did the thing that he does, which is make films, and he made it out of a seems to me a real like genuine love for the book that didn't like corrode into wooden reverence, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But that was
yeah.
like playful and inventive, but also smart, but also like this guy has taught me how to think about things that I want to mobilize. And I thought that was I'm talking myself into admiring it more every day. I didn't love there are things I didn't love about it. It's not perfect, whatever, but it was a captivating 2 hours 50 for me.
Yeah, anyone who says it's like this is the movie of the decade stuff, I'm like, get the fuck out, man. I hate that sort of rhetoric. So I've become like, and when it's something that I like and it's coming up that way, I'm like, God, you make me hate this movie that I did enjoy.
It's a tour de force, the movie of our times.
I mean,
Come on,
listen.
man.
I if
You don't
you
have to
are
say all this
okay,
stuff.
but if you're like a person who is starved in a genuine way for like, I want to see something of my sense of the world depicted, something of the sense of like counter-fascist mobilization, something of the sense of like police as an occupying army
For sure.
whose aims are malign, like you would be like, holy shit, I can't get this anywhere. Into my veins. You know what I mean? That I
Yeah.
think explains something of
My,
the fervor with
to be
which
clear,
it's
my
being.
rejection is of quote unquote critics using Twitter speak to talk about every piece of art. That is exactly what my criticism is, and I stand by it. This is why I cannot stand the big picture podcast, is that it's just Twitter speak instead of like
Well,
anything.
I might watch this while I'm waiting for the next season of Reacher to come out.
Exactly.
Rad, tremendous. Yeah. I don't know if you guys ever read Defector, which is like a sports, the people
Yeah.
who did Deadspin now Defector
Yeah.
is great,
It
great
used to be
writing.
Deadspin, and then yeah.
A writer that I love named David Roth kind
Yep.
of loves like David Roth, Brandy Jensen, two great, great writers, and they both love Reacher in part because they're like, the tone of this thing is so weird. Like it's kind of fascist, genuinely, but also it's funny and like, yeah, and it's very true. Like it is a sort of totally hard to read TV show with this gigantic mountain of a man lumbering through the middle of it. Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I'll watch the
basically all I
shit
know
out of
about it.
that.
I've not watched it
Yeah.
once, but I've heard people talk about it in that exact same way.
Brian, have you watched it?
I've seen a couple episodes. It's absolutely bizarre.
It is very great. It's super bizarre. You're like, oh, I
It's
get this. No, I don't.
no, it's the
Wait,
type
what?
of thing where like it's like the guy wakes up and oh, like let's kisses the woman in bed next to him, and he's like, you know, we can't do that because you last so long and you're amazing, and you got to go to work. Like it's like it's like this like male power fantasy. It's so amazing. I love it. Like it's so good. Like who actually watches this and is like,
The-
yeah.
It's also
Apparently,
this
a
like
lot of
deep.
women. It's very popular among like 30 and 40-year-old women.
Well, yeah.
What's this? So he's very hot. Why would you not?
No,
He's just
I'm
pure
saying
beefcake.
He's got a
I'm
lot of
saying
big guns. A
I'm
lot
just
of big
saying
guns.
you're saying these words, and I have no visual for what this show is, so I just want to
Oh boy.
remove myself from that
In,
group of women.
in
Maybe
the
if I check it out, I'll be into it. But as of now, on September 30th, 2025, I have zero knowledge. I am
in the
pure. I am innocent.
in the book, he is described, the character is described as a man with hands the size of dinner plates, which
Why
is
is
just
there
such an
always
amazing
like
figure. Exactly.
Wow.
and
Right,
Wow.
exactly.
like the nice ones for when people come over? Because that's like this big, or like the ones I use. Sometimes I use the tea saucers because dinner is like a croissant that your kid didn't eat for breakfast. Like
With
I
a
He's
don't
a
foot the
know.
he's
size of a meatloaf, he kicked
he's
in
a
the door.
yeah, he's a large, and it's all by this guy. This writer is a British writer. Like it's almost like deep Americana. The guy has made an uncountable sum of money. Like the books are
Seriously. This is like
hugely
this
popular,
has been remade
compulsively
multiple times
popular.
now too. Like
So
Yeah,
this
is it maybe
version.
all the women who are into it British women in the same way that all the American women are into like Downton Abbey and Bridgerton?
Yeah,
don't know, man.
probably
Lot
sure.
that,
Like
a lot of people into it.
It's
I'll say
exotic.
that.
very popular, weirdly. Like it's like
But
very
to get back on track, I think it's amazing that someone's able to put something like a Pynchon influenced work into the world rather than like a Lee Child's
yeah.
work or like something about a
Yeah.
former Navy SEAL that has to murder everybody.
Right.
Like
That I
that's
have to murder everybody because I have a code,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Like
Gandhi.
I do think like the reason, or it seems to me at least now having seen it, the reason that people are responding as fervently as they are is the sense of like intense and desired recognition.
yeah,
Like I am not like just the thing that art can do, right? I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I'm not alone. There's an entire mobilized vision, however many people made this movie. And I'm seen by that. I'm held by that in some way. And that's pretty fucking intense. Like, honest to God, when you guys see it, the beginning is jolting.
okay.
You know?
Yeah. I really like that. Rocket Man, nice little throwback
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
Reeves Rainbow moment. Um, I was listening to, I was listening to the audiobook of Mount Chicago, which I mentioned earlier, and a screaming
Yeah.
across the sky is one of the lines in the book, and I was like, huh, that's good timing. Good timing. Anyways, I don't know. We should probably start wrapping up. Is there anything from the book that you guys wanted to bring up that we haven't talked about, or from the movie, or from anything? I need to find my line, which I don't
This is
remember.
all I always like this. It's and when you give a talk, it's the denunciations from the floor part of the talk, and
Yeah.
anyone
Anyone
had
got
to,
something you want to
yeah.
say?
Yeah.
If
Exactly.
not, do you have a favorite line? Kai, you
I was
start.
gonna say, did you guys like it? Did you guys,
Oh,
I know I'm
do you
super always,
recommend it to others?
yeah.
You want to go first, Kaya?
Um, I mean, yeah, I would. I think I would. I enjoyed it. This is now officially the second Pynchon book I've read, and I think that this would have maybe been. I don't know if this would have been a better place, but I think it maybe would have been a better one to start with than Crying of Lot 49. But I know also, and this is a little long, Brian, but like I know the idea of reading things over and over again is in the air, not just from, earlier in this podcast, but it's something that in finishing it, I thought to myself, like, I have the book, I have the audiobook. Like, I would definitely probably like put this on again and just listen to it from start to finish because there'll be things that I didn't catch. It'll not feel old or like musty at
Yeah.
any point. And I think that's really enjoyable in a book that, it's kind of like I would say the closest I could identify with people who like to dip in and out of Friends episodes now and then. Like it's been there for so long, you can always go back to it. And that's not the humor part, but just like there's a certain sense of uncomfortable comfort, I guess, in what is going on. And I would be happy to recommend it. To whom I don't really know, but
Yeah.
Call your
when
mom.
the moment strikes,
Call your
it'll be on the
mom. Your
list.
mom's got
Yeah.
time.
I know. I almost thought about it today when I was like, I need to finish it. I almost put the audiobook on in the car, but I thought, I don't know if there's a lot of like weird Brock scenes with him
Yeah.
saying his weird Brock shit, then maybe that'll be like, ooh, a little,
A little
little,
too much.
little too
Yeah. I
much.
mean, dude, I will say, I write this in the book. Like, I taught it, like, I was doing one of those, like, for extra money, I was doing like a humanities thing. So you teach like a class of grown-ups meets once a week. They're like very nice people. You know what I mean? They're very love, like, librarians, lawyers, teachers, or whatever. And like you'd meet once a week and you'd teach a book. And I was like, the theme was American somethings, American mysteries. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna teach Vineland. And they fucking hated it. I mean, and this was like peak like Bush era. This is peak like 2006 Iraq War. And I was very mobilized by the politics of the book. I was like, oh my God, Brock Vaughn is the most Donald Rumsfeld fictional character that's ever been made. Come on, come on. And they were very polite. They were like, it's clearly, it means a lot to you, you know? And they were very sweet about that. But they did not, they just didn't, they didn't want to hear. They were themselves probably the right age of the characters. They didn't like being returned to, you know, the counterculture. They thought it was overblown, and you know, they were liberals of a certain sort that were like, the world is much better now.
Yeah.
In their minds, they're probably like, I skipped the 101 on how to delete apps off the smartphone for this.
I want revolution. I'll go make a sign.
Yeah, they did not. They did not. And they were super nice to me. And it was clear to them that it meant something obscurely large of size to me, but they did not like it. Like at the end, like, would you recommend it? No.
That's a sign of a great work of art, I think. If you can't be like, you're gonna love it, you're gonna hate it, but you cannot feel indifferent.
They were not, I promise you, I couldn't work them toward indifference. Doing all your teacherly things, you know?
I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. From a craft standpoint, I'm in awe at his scenes. He writes some of the best scenes I've ever read. There's a lot I want to steal from this. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to be called out on it, but there's some techniques in here that are just, the way he shifts perspective and plays with you is absolutely unbelievable. I don't know. To me, it's just a master doing masterful things. So it's just fun to get to hang out and be a part of it in any kind of way.
Dude, that's beautifully said. I mean, when I do like craft stuff and I give people Pynchon, I was just like, just pay attention to nothing, but pay attention to the sentences. Like, because he writes these like Jamesian ornate sentences, but they're populated with like the slangiest, twainiest anti-genteel diction.
Fucking hell, man. He said, well, like then you go into like this beautiful poetry. Right?
Yeah. And I've never gotten over, like, I'm just a sucker for that. Like, I can't, even if the books aren't good, I'm going to read them because that particular move, that like wedding of genteel syntax to anti-genteel diction in that particular mode, I'm just a sucker for it. Yep. It's my number. You know what I mean?
So good. So anyone have a favorite line? Mine's not, no one's going to pick mine, and it's not even really a line, but just a joke. It's from 370, going back to when we were talking about the TV. About the time that the show ended, Prairie came by, Zoid and Flash went off looking for beer, and she and Justin settled down, semi-brother and sister, in front of the 8 o'clock movie, Pee Wee Herman and the Robert Musil Story. One's one of my favorites. So when I've been hiding and waiting on. Having one time met Pee Wee Herman, that feels apt.
Do you want to know my favorite sentence that has nothing to do with anything?
100%.
It's about Van Meter playing in a band, and it's just about cocaine in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the sentence. Van Meter had to keep forcing himself to slow down, not to mention the drummer, whose brightness of eye, wetness of lip, and frequent visits to the men's lounge suggested a personality at best impatient, and who now and then liked to explode into these ear-assaulting, self-expressive solos, hollering, "All right," and "Party time." I'm sorry. The guy doing blow in the bathroom suggesting a personality at best impatient. That is, I'm all in.
So good.
I'm all in.
Good.
Yeah, pretty
I
strong.
got one on 378. To be fair, the producers had tried their best to make the Celtics look good. Besides Sidney Poitier as Casey Jones, there was Paul McCartney in his first acting role as Kevin McHale, with Sean Penn as Larry Bird.
Boom.
On the Lakers side, there was Lou Gossett Jr. as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Douglas as Pat Riley, and Jack Nicholson as himself.
I love that. I have that mark.
It's also Vacho and Blood give each other a high five while they're watching it. Yeah.
What's their line? There's something, when that comes up the second time, there's something like, it was a lot more moving and dramatic than one expected.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's what got Sean Penn his role in one battle or another, but there he is.
He is great in that movie.
He is? My friend John's favorite scene, which I remember from when we were kids, is when Zoid gets arrested and there's a pressed block of marijuana in the house, too large to have gotten in any door.
Yep.
Yes, I love
And
that.
then they're taking him away and it's back outside again. And he's like, and it says it's being on a flatbed truck taken to whatever spacious museum of drug abuse it had been borrowed
Yes,
from.
exactly.
John was like, that's amazing. That's what?
Oh god,
That's
so
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Kaya, you a line?
Yeah, mine's less of a line. I changed my mind. Mine's less of a line and more just a descriptor on 330 where Prairie and Che are walking through the mall getting their shoplift on. And it just describes the music coming out of the PA as new aged mind barf.
That's the one where they're stealing cosmetics.
They're
Yeah,
stealing
and
lingerie.
Maybelline's
They're
they're
playing
stealing
on
lingerie.
cosmetics,
Yeah.
and when they do the Great South Coast Plaza raid, and they're all the girls coming on roller skates, and it says that the
Yes.
music is playing a sprightly oboe rendition of Maybelline. It's like
Maybelline,
very
yep.
classic.
Also, yep.
Again, I remember being 24, reading that, being like, "What's happening?
Yeah.
Who can do that's what?"
Yeah, so much fun.
So much fun. So much fun in a book. Who knew?
So if you are addicted to Pynchon now, there's a lot of books to check out, including the brand new Shadow Ticket, which drops in like a week from now. I believe
week
it
from
is
Tuesday.
exactly a week from today, Tuesday. So that's going to be out there. We might be doing a special episode about that in the future. Otherwise, we don't have anything planned for the next 2-month review yet. We've had conversations. We'll get back to you, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, we just haven't settled on anything
We
yet.
haven't settled anything. Everyone made suggestions and we just stopped.
So we're not doing the Fountainhead?
We're gonna do the Fountainhead. We're definitely doing the Fountainhead. Fountainhead, and that would be that would probably be the most popular season ever. Is just like
Yeah, you would have followers.
we would have a lot of weird followers.
Yeah, and then they would become like literal followers, like they'd come to your house and things like that. That'd be great.
I'm afraid of that on a daily basis. I've got
Yeah,
the Pynchon paranoia is a bug that you can catch. So
Oh my
You'd
God,
probably
tell
get a
me about it.
sponsorship
Yeah.
by AG1 and some supplements or something, you know.
Mushrooms, mushroom
I've got some
coffee.
methylene blue for you to buy right here. If
I
you're,
don't know if
you're
every-
dramatic, it works twice as well.
I don't know if any of you will have a chance to go up to like Arcata, Eureka, up around there, like where the book takes place. I didn't get to do that for years and years. After I wrote the book, I finally did, and it's gorgeous and beautiful and quiet and uncrowded. And I saw the cabin where Pynchon wrote up in Trinidad is the name of the town, and I strongly recommend it. It's just really beautiful. That's where the house is filmed. Like weirdly, for reasons that kind of escaped me, that's where they filmed a lot of the local stuff up in
Right.
Arcata and Eureka. Yeah.
Right, I did see that too. But yeah, and also go see the movie. The movie's fun. It's going to be enjoyable, 3 hours of your time, and I don't think you'll have any regrets spending $12 that way.
If you do, you can bring them straight to Chad. Be like,
Yeah,
I would
just
like,
bring 'em to my
I would like
doorstep.
$12 back, my man.
When you knock on the door, I'm just going to go hiding like I usually do. So it'll be all good. Anyways, we'll be back at some point. We'll let you know. Just pay attention to the newsletter. You'll see when we're coming up with our next stuff. But till then, I guess thank you for coming on.
Friends,
you for
just an absolute delight to talk to you. Thank you for brightening up the Tuesday. I appreciate it a lot.
so fun. Pynchon, so fun.
You finish about as bad as Sean Penn.